All right, let's talk Texas A&M Aggies football. Look, obviously the final signing day of the 2023-2024 cycle has come and gone, and there's been nothing but great news down in College Station. Let's get right into the report, and then we'll talk about it more on the other side. This is from All Aggies. On Wednesday, Aggies coach Mike Elko and offensive coordinator Colin Klein received some big news for their already top 20 recruiting class for 2024. Four-star wideout Ashton Bethel Roman announced his commitment to Texas A&M, signing his letter of intent shortly after. The Missouri City Ridge Point High School product was previously committed to Arkansas, but reopened his recruiting. He chose the Aggies over other schools after decommitting from Arkansas, including Texas Tech, TCU, Kansas State, Houston, Ole Miss, and others. Here's the big part. Bethel Roman's commitment comes on the heels of five-star athlete Terry Bussey reaffirming his commitment by signing his letter of intent and closing his recruitment. He will be a Texas A&M Aggie, excuse me. Bussey, the number 11 overall player and number one athlete in the nation, number one athlete, has been committed to the Aggies since September and is the biggest signing of the 2024 class for Elko. All right, so this is obviously outstanding news for Texas A&M and Coach Mike Elko, weathering a little bit of the early offseason storm, building some momentum, strong finish to the recruiting cycle. Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this, but first, Texas A&M fans in the comment section below. All right, now that we've wrapped up this first recruiting cycle under Coach Elko, give us your grade for how this offseason has done for Coach Elko so far. You think he's done a good job? Do you give him an A? Do you give him a B? Do you give him a C, D? You think he stinks? Give him an F? Whatever it is, grade Coach Elko's offseason performance so far and put it in the comment section below. But Miles, give me your thoughts on this news involving the Aggies and what it could mean for them going forward.
Yeah, Nick, I would say he's probably a high B, low A. I think he's done a great job. Number two in transfer ranking. They've rounded out at number 19 recruiting class for his 2024 class. And I think the job he's done at keeping, we all know Jimbo Fisher was able to get a lot of big name guys. Whether it really had a plan to it or not, that was the question. He was able to recruit a lot of big name guys. And Coach Elko came in and was able to keep some of those big names coming to the school, most notably Bussy. I think he's going to be phenomenal for this team. But let's go through what I think is a really interesting storyline here. We got two stories here. The first one being Bethel Roman is a guy who was committed to Arkansas, reopened his recruiting. Texas A&M swoops in, able to get him to commit and sign with the Aggies. On the flip side, you have Terry Bussey, who was committed to Texas A&M, decided to reopen his recruiting, was getting heavily recruited by the likes of Georgia, and really LSU was right there till the bitter end. Most people were even projecting he was going to go to LSU. What does Coach Elko do? He swoops in, closes the deal. Bussy is coming to Texas A&M, and I think that is the end of this recruiting cycle for Elko. I think that shows what he's able to do. He's able to lock down two big name guys and from two different ways. Someone who really wasn't sure, they were thinking about Texas A&M, then they try to go somewhere else, and a guy that was at another school opens up, given an opportunity. Coach Elko capitalized on both of those, and I'm really glad he did because when you look like a guy like Bussy, if I tell you some of these stats that Bussy has, Nick, you're going to be blown away. He's actually just an insane athlete. For total offense, 14,700 yards in his career, 227 offensive touchdowns in his high school career. On top of that, he's got a sack, 12 tackles for loss, 5 fumble recoveries, 2 forced fumbles, 22 pass breakups, 30 interception, and here's the kicker, 8 interceptions for touchdowns, 6 kickoff returns for touchdowns, and 3 punt returns for touchdowns. He literally does everything on the field, whether it was throwing the ball, running the ball, catching the ball, playing defense, playing special teams. He can do literally everything for the Aggies. I think this was such a big get for them to lock down a guy like Bussy. This just shows Coach Elko can get some of the best players in the nation. If I'm an Aggies fan, I'm at ease with what he was able to do in this recruiting cycle.
I couldn't agree with more because the one concern with Elko coming from Duke, right, was well, how could he, as the head man now at an SEC school, big time program, how could he handle recruiting? Because obviously it's a different dynamic recruiting at Duke than recruiting at Texas A&M. The ceiling for Duke recruits is like 3 stars, and maybe once in a blue moon they'll get one 4-star guy that loves Duke academics, right? Maybe he's from that part of the world, maybe he's from North Carolina or something like that, right? That's sort of the ceiling of what you're able to do recruiting wise at Duke. Texas A&M, the expectation is that you get nothing but 3 and 4 stars, and the expectation is that you're able to get a number of 5 stars as well. So the fact that Elko, for the first offseason in this much more challenging recruiting environment, he was able to lock down a 5-star of this caliber, I think speaks to easing all the concerns about Elko's ability to recruit. He may not be as good as a Jimbo Fisher or maybe not as a Nick Saban. Those are really high bars. But considering he was such a smart, really schematically sound, good culture coach, the fact he's a quality enough recruiter to do what he's done this first cycle is a great sign for Texas A&M going forward. But one thing I do want to focus on, I think Elko's strategy has kind of slid under the radar a little bit, is that Texas A&M, of all the programs that are ranked top 20 according to 24/7 Sports recruiting rankings for the 2024 class, they have the fewest total commits. They relied a little bit more on the transfer portal this offseason just because they lost a number of guys due to coaching change. That's bound to happen. But they still, despite having fewer commits than anybody in the top 20, made the top 20 in terms of recruiting rankings. That speaks to the quality of prospect they're getting. It wasn't like they were struggling. It wasn't like Elko came into the fold and said, all right, we'll have to give me a 2-star. Give me a guy who maybe should be playing, mid-major, should be playing group of 5, and we got to bring him into the fold just because we need a guy. No, Elko was able to get quality recruits his first cycle, despite all the chaos that goes on with the coaching change. That speaks to how Elko will continue to build off of this success going forward. I don't think this commit, obviously, it's a big time deal. Bussy, I think, is going to be an absolute future superstar. The kid's an unbelievable athlete. Can't wait to watch him play on Saturdays. But I think the bigger theme here is that what we saw this first recruiting cycle from Elko, it won't get any worse. It'll only get better. He stepped up to the plate, and despite being first-time SEC head coach, going from Duke to A&M, expectations go from here to here. He steps up to the plate, knocks out the park. I think the future is very bright in College Station, and the Elko hire looks better and better with each passing day.